Hello, this is Whispers in the Rain. Welcome to tonight's scary story reading, one to keep you company as the storm rolls in. Comment where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. Let the rain drown the noise of the outside world, and let the darkness take over from here. There's house stood alone at the end of a wooded lane, choked in ivy and shadow. It hadn't changed much, still tall and brooding, with its narrow windows and dark green shutters. The porch creaked with age. A single porch light buzzed against the dusk, a faint, warm eye watching your arrival. You parked and sat for a moment, staring at the house. You really did it, you whispered to yourself. You really came back. The funeral had been 3 weeks ago, a small ceremony barely attended. Your grandmother, Martha Evans, hadn't had many friends toward the end. She'd become reclusive, neighbors said. Eccentric, strange noises, drawn curtains, lights on all hours. A few had whispered about her talking to herself. You'd heard the rumors, but dismissed them. She'd always been a little intense. The lawyer was brisk and efficient. "The house is yours," he said, sliding the deed across his polished desk. "No mortgage, no lien. Just yours now. Just yours. And everything in it." You step out of the car, the gravel crunching beneath your boots, and grab your overnight bag. You're only staying for a few nights. Enough to sort through her things, maybe call an estate agent. You don't plan to live here. The front door creaks open on the second try. The hinges are swollen with damp. The scent hits you first, dust and wood polish, a faint trace of lavender. The air is thick and still, like a hell breath. You click on the hallway light. Dim yellow spills across familiar wood floors. The worn rug with the faded pattern of leaves, the antique coat, stand leaning slightly to the left like it always had. You set your bag down and walk slowly, each step stirring up the silence. And then you pass it, the room. The one at the end of the hall, second door on the left. The one she always told you not to go into. You stop. It's just a door. White paint peeling. Brass handle. The same as you remember. But your stomach tightens. A muscle memory of unease. You remember being 6 years old, standing outside that door, pressing your ear to it. Hearing what? Nothing, surely. Or maybe the wind. You remember asking her, "Grandma, what's in there?" And her reply, always the same, "That room is sleeping, dear. Let rest." Tonight, the door is closed. You move past it quickly, pretending it doesn't matter, pretending it's just another door in an old house. You'll just sleep, sort her things tomorrow, and go. But as you head upstairs, you don't notice the faint indentation in the carpet, as though the door had been open earlier today and quietly closed again. You take the guest bedroom at the top of the stairs, the one with the window that faces the overgrown garden. It's smaller than you remember, or maybe it's just quieter. The bed is covered in a crocheted quilt, the same one from your childhood. It still smells faintly of cedar and rose water. You try to get comfortable, but the silence is pressing. Even the old houses in the city have noise. Cars in the distance, the whir of a neighbor's television, the hum of pipes. But here, there's nothing but the occasional creak of settling wood and the wind hissing through unseen cracks. You read for a while, an old paperback you brought from home, until the words start swimming. You glance at your phone. No signal. Of course. You set the book aside and click off the lamp. Darkness falls like a weight. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. At first, it's just the wind outside. And then you hear it. A creak. Not the house settling. A slow, rhythmic creak. Like wood underweight. Like something rocking back and forth. You sit up. It's coming from downstairs. You lean over, straining your ears. Creak. Pause. Creak. The same pattern over and over. You stand, wrapping a sweater around yourself, and tiptoe to the top of the stairs. You don't want to go down. You don't even want to look. But you do. The hallway below is dark. Only the faintest moonlight slipping through the windows. You descend slowly, barefoot on cold wood. The sound grows louder as you reach the ground floor. It's coming from the left side of the hall. You already know where. The second door on the left. It's open. You know it was closed earlier. You know it was. You locked it. You're certain you locked it. The door is open now, just an inch, enough for a sliver of shadow to bleed into the hallway. The creaking stops. You freeze, holding your breath. Then a whisper snakes through the gap, too soft to make out at first, then a little louder, like a voice hiding under layers of cloth. Are you there? You don't move. The whisper comes again, almost curious now, almost playful. You came back. You back away, slowly at first, then faster. You reach the stairs, climb them two at a time, and shut your bedroom door. You don't sleep that night. You lie awake until the morning sun chases the shadows back into the corners. You convince yourself it was a dream, a half-asleep hallucination. Houses make noises. Memory plays tricks. Grief does strange things. But as you leave the room to make coffee, you glance down the stairs. The second door on the left is shut again. Only this time, you didn't close it. Morning comes dressed in fog. You brew instant coffee in the outdated kitchen, standing beside the window as pale light filters through the lace curtains. The house smells musty, old wood, old memories, and something else you can't quite place. Like the underside of a stone, damp and earthy. You avoid the hallway at first. You don't go near the door. You tell yourself there's no need. Not yet. Instead, you start with the living room. She kept everything meticulously arranged. The same china in the cabinet, the same dark oil paintings on the walls, the same chipped porcelain cat on the mantel. You wander through her things, a kind of archaeological dig. Old letters bound in twine, receipts from shops that haven't existed in decades, faded photographs in heavy frames. In one picture, she's standing beside the house. Younger, hair pinned up neatly, a small smile. Beside her is a man you don't recognize. Tall, gaunt, unsmiling. There's something about him. The way he stares at the camera. Not hostile, just hollow. There's no name on the back. Only a date. August 1959. You tuck the photo into your pocket. In the upstairs study, you find her journal. It's an old leather-bound notebook with brittle pages and tight, cramped handwriting. At first, it's mundane. Recipes, grocery lists, notes about the garden. But then about halfway through, the tone changes. He's waking again. I heard the whisper in the wall last night. Same as before. It's been so many years. I hoped he'd finally gone. Another entry. The dreams are back. The red door. The rocking chair. The voice. Always the voice. He remembers. He always remembers. And finally, I must never open it again. Never. I've locked it. Buried the key. If anyone hears him, they must not answer. You sit back, the journal trembling slightly in your hands. This isn't just grief or old age or senility. This is fear, and not just fear, belief. She believed there was something in that room, something alive, or worse, something waiting. You set the journal down carefully, and you notice something strange. The key rack in the hallway is full. Spare keys, old car keys, a labeled key for the attic, one for the basement, even a tiny one labeled music box. But none marked for the second door on the left. The key is missing. Just like she said in the journal. Buried the key. Your eyes drift toward the hallway. The door is still shut, still sleeping, but it doesn't feel like it's resting anymore. It feels like it's listening. The journal won't leave your mind. You reread the entries twice, tracing the old ink with your finger, as if the act could help you understand. Your grandmother, proud, stubborn Martha, she'd never been one for fantasy or madness. Yet here were her words, plain as anything, warning you away from the room, warning you about him. But who was he? Your thoughts keep circling back to the missing key. Buried the key. Where? She didn't say. You spend most of the day searching. Every drawer, every shelf, every cupboard. You check under rugs, behind books, even inside the baseboards in the closet. Dust clings to your clothes. Cobwebs snarl in your hair. The silence presses down heavier the longer you look. Nothing. The light is beginning to fade when you step into the garden. It's wild and overgrown now. Tall weeds, gnarled bushes, long-forgotten rose beds choked in vines. But beneath the disorder is a shape you remember. The old bird bath near the willow tree. The stone bench at the edge of the garden path. A memory rises. Visiting in the summer, your grandmother pruning plants with gloved hands, humming tunelessly as she worked. You scan the ground. There's a part of the yard near the back fence where the grass doesn't grow well, just patchy dirt and scraggly moss. Something about it feels wrong. You fetch a shovel from the shed. The soil is wet, heavy with roots. You dig slowly at first, almost feeling foolish, but then the shovel hits something with a soft, dull clunk. Wood. You drop to your knees and brush away the dirt. It's a box. Small, handmade, nailed shut and wrapped in a piece of dry, rotting cloth. You pry it open carefully with the shovel's edge. Inside is a single item, a tarnished brass key bound with red thread. It feels cold in your palm. The moment you lift it, something shifts, not outside but inside the house. A deep, distant thud, like a heartbeat behind the walls. You freeze, holding your breath. The wind dies. The birds fall silent. Then, the creaking begins again. But this time, it doesn't come from the room. It's coming from the porch. You spin around. The rocking chair, the one your grandmother kept beside the front window for decades, is moving slowly back and forth. And there's no one in it. You take a step back, heart pounding, fingers closing around the key instinctively. A sound reaches your ears then, faint, like a whisper floating on air, almost lost in the breeze. You found me. You don't remember walking back inside. Your fingers are tight around the key, cold and slick with soil. You stare down at it as you step into the hallway, the long, dim corridor lined with fading wallpaper and old picture frames. The air is heavier now. Each breath feels damp, like you're inhaling steam. Your footsteps carry you to the second door on the left. You pause. The door is just a door again. Still shut, still silent. But now, you know the truth. It was never painted white. Not really. The years have peeled back just enough of the outer layer to show what was underneath. A dull, blood-red coat beneath the flaking white paint. Your heart thuds. You hold up the key. It fits perfectly into the tarnished brass lock. Smooth, like it's been waiting for this moment. The click is quiet, but it echoes down the hallway, like a whisper shouted through a tunnel. You hesitate, hand on the knob. There's still time to stop. Still time to walk away, call a priest, a therapist, anyone. But something inside you, curiosity, legacy, maybe just the hunger for answers, pushes you forward. You turn the knob and open the door. The air that rushes out is colder than the rest of the house. A chill slithers up your spine as the scent hits you. Dust, mold, and something metallic, like rust or blood. The room is small, about 10 feet by 10. The wallpaper is the same faded red floral you half remember from childhood. A thick layer of dust coats everything, but the center of the room is almost clean, as though something has been moving through it. The rocking chair sits in the far corner. It's already moving, back and forth, back and forth. You don't know whether to step in or run. A single oil lamp sits on a small side table. You reach for it, half expecting it not to work, but it does. A soft, flickering light fills the room, casting shadows that sway with the rocking. There's nothing else in the room. No windows, no closets, no one in the chair. But the cushions are pressed in like someone heavy just stood up. The whisper comes again. Close the door. You spin around, no one behind you. But the voice had been right there. You back into the room by instinct, slamming the door shut. The light from the hallway vanishes, and the red wallpaper seems to grow deeper in color. The whisper again, right beside your ear. Now we can talk. The door doesn't have a knob on the inside. You stare at the door. No knob, no latch, just smooth cold wood. Your breath fogs in the air. You back away from the door slowly, unwilling to turn your back on it. But the whispering follows, a soft hum at first, almost like static in your ears. Then it sharpens into words. A voice, hushed and low. I was here before her. You freeze. The voice doesn't sound angry. If anything, it sounds tired, ancient. It seems to come from everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, the floorboards beneath your feet. You turn slowly, scanning the empty room. She thought the door would keep me in. The rocking chair continues to sway, though nothing touches it. You inch toward the wall and press your hand to the wallpaper. It's damp beneath your fingers. As you watch, the faded floral pattern begins to shift. Not peel or wrinkle, but actually move like something beneath is breathing against the fabric of the house. You snatch your hand away, but it's not the door that matters. It's you. The voice grows stronger now, more focused. It sounds close, closer than before. You glance back at the rocking chair, but it's stopped moving. The silence is worse than the whispering. You turn and find a mirror hanging on the far wall. It wasn't there before. You're sure of it. You step closer, breath shallow. It's fogged slightly, the edge is smeared, but you can still see your reflection. Except you're not alone. Something stands behind you. A shape, tall, too tall, its head brushing the ceiling. Thin arms that hang too long. A face you can't quite make out. A mouth open too wide. You spin around. Nothing. The room is empty. You turn back to the mirror. The shape is gone. You stagger back, heart pounding, mind racing. The lamp flickers once, then steadies again. You reach for the journal in your coat pocket. Anything to ground yourself. But instead, your fingers brush something else. The photo. Your grandmother. And the man. You look down at his face again. And now you recognize him. It's the figure from the mirror. He hasn't aged a day. You whisper, almost without meaning to, "Who are you?" The voice answers, "I'm the one she left behind." And now, you've come to finish what she couldn't. You back toward the wall, chest heaving, eyes locked on the rocking chair. It starts to move again, slowly. Creak, creak, creak. And the voice whispers again, closer now. "Sit down." It remembers you. You don't want to sit. Your knees lock in place as the whisper coils around you, warm and close like breath on the back of your neck. "Sit." You've already opened the door. You might as well remember. The rocking chair groans softly, tilting toward you like an invitation. You feel drawn to it, not just by the voice, but by something deeper, something familiar. Your limbs feel heavy, your thoughts slower, as if the air itself were thickening. You shake your head, resisting. "No, I'm not." But then you hear something you hadn't expected. A child's voice, whispering beneath the others. "Please don't leave me." It's so faint you're not sure it was real, but it cuts through you like a razor. You stare at the chair. Your grandmother never let you in this room. But once, just once, when you were small, didn't you peek? A memory bubbles up, faint but sharp. You were maybe 5 years old. You'd wandered the house while she napped, opened a door she'd told you not to touch. And then, nothing. A black gap where the memory ends. But the voice knows. She erased it, covered it over, painted me shut. But memories don't die. They rot. You take a step closer. The floorboards creak under your weight. The rocking chair waits. You sit. At first, nothing happens. The chair rocks gently, and you stare ahead, heart racing. But then the lamp sputters and goes out. Darkness swallows the room, total, impenetrable. And in that darkness, something moves. A flicker, like shadows slipping across your closed eyelids. A shift in pressure, then a sound, low and hoarse. Breathing. You're not alone. Then you hear it. Footsteps. Soft at first, like bare feet on old wood. Then closer. Heavier. Moving slowly toward you. You grip the arms of the chair, frozen. The air is ice in your lungs. A hand touches your shoulder. Not skin, colder, wetter, like something pulled from a river. And then the voice, not a whisper now, but right in your ear. You open the door. So let me show you what's behind it. And suddenly, the room shifts. You're not in the chair anymore. You're standing in the same room. But it's decades earlier. The wallpaper is new. The lamp is bright. And in the center of the room is a little girl. She's crying. She looks up, and it's your mother. She's no older than 5. And behind her, in the shadow of the rocking chair, something begins to stand up. Your mother stares at you, or through you. She can't see you. Of course not. You're watching a memory, something old buried deep in the rot beneath the house. A knot in the grain of the wood. A scar. She clutches a faded stuffed bear to her chest. Her face is red from crying. She keeps glancing toward the rocking chair, and behind it, the thing that is not a man is rising. It unfolds slowly, like a shadow lengthening across the wall. Its limbs are wrong, too long, too thin, bending where they shouldn't. Its skin is stretched tight, like wet paper over branches. Its face is a hollow void, deep and black and hungry. And it speaks with a voice made of whispers and dead leaves. "Come closer, little one." Your mother backs away. "I don't want to," she whispers. But the thing just leans forward, and from somewhere deep inside its ribs, inside its emptiness, it pulls something small and glittering. A hair clip, the kind your mother used to wear, a tiny silver butterfly with blue glass wings. Her sobs catch in her throat. Her eyes go wide. She takes a step forward. Yes, the thing says. Just like before. Just one more step. Your heart is in your throat. You want to scream, to grab her, to pull her away, but you can't move. You're not there. You're just a ghost in someone else's nightmare. Then another figure bursts into the room. Your grandmother. She's younger, fiercer. She holds something in her hand, a jar, sealed with wax and wrapped in twine. She doesn't hesitate. She throws it at the creature. It shatters against the thing's chest. Whatever's inside, salt, ash, something darker, hisses as it hits. Smoke pours from the wound. The creature shrieks, a horrible wet sound that vibrates in your teeth. The memory cracks. The light in the room flickers. Your mother vanishes. The furniture melts back into shadow. And you're back in the present, sitting in the rocking chair. The room is darker now, but you're not alone. You feel it behind you. You hear it breathing, and then you realize something terrible. The jar your grandmother used, the one that drove the thing back, it's gone. The seal is broken, and the door is still open. You lurch out of the rocking chair, lungs clawing for air. The room tilts. The walls seem closer now, bending inward as though the house itself is exhaling. The lamp flickers wildly, casting shadows that crawl. The voice is gone, but its absence feels worse. Like holding your breath underwater, waiting for something to grab your ankle. You rush to the door. Still no knob. You beat your fist against the wood, screaming. But the sound dies, swallowed by the red walls like water, soaking in a cloth. Then comes a new sound, a knocking, from beneath the floor. 3 knocks. Slow, heavy, like someone rapping from the other side of a coffin lid. Then silence. Then scratching. It starts faint, almost mouse-like. Then sharper, louder. You drop to your knees, pressing your ear to the boards. The whisper returns. But this time, it isn't in your ear. It's below you. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. You scramble back. The scratching grows more frantic, like claws dragging splinters free. Then a single board shifts. Right in the center of the room, one narrow plank begins to rise. Not broken, but pushed from beneath. Your mind screams at you to stop this, to run, to burn the whole house down and salt the ashes, but your body moves anyway. You crawl forward, trembling. You hook your fingers under the edge of the board. You pull, and there's an eye staring back at you. Not human. Too wide, too still. Pupil like a crack in the earth. You gasp and fall back, but the voice is in your head now. No longer whispering, but chanting. You open the door. You broke the seal. I remember your blood. The floor bursts open. Dust and darkness erupt as something claws its way out. Not all at once, not fast. Just a hand first. Gray, slick. Fingers longer than they should be, ending in split nails. Then an arm. Then teeth. Dozens of them, sprouting where no mouth should be. You stumble into the corner, but there's nowhere left to run. The room is shuddering. The mirror cracks. The wallpaper peels in long, curling strips. And the voice, now impossibly loud, says, "You are the last. You are the key, and I have been so. Very hungry." The floor yawns open like a wound. The creature pulls itself from the dark beneath, dragging slick limbs through a nest of splinters and rotted cloth. Its head scrapes the ceiling. Its body, if it can be called that, shifts constantly. One moment humanoid, the next a bloated thing crawling with teeth and sockets that weep black fluid. But the eyes, those eyes, remain fixed on you. They shine like wet stone. Cold, patient, hungry. You press yourself into the corner of the room, fingers groping for anything. A shard of wood, a lamp, even a broken mirror. But everything is either too far or already swallowed by the undulating shadows. The creature pauses, sniffing the air. It tilts its head. You smell like her. It croaks. The voice is deeper now, no longer whispering, but rumbling like a storm under earth. But you taste like your mother. You choke on a sob while rising in your throat. "WH, what are you?" It takes another step forward, the floor groaning beneath its weight. Not what? When? You shake your head. That doesn't make any sense. The creature smiles. The skin on its face tears as it does. I'm what your family buried, and I've been waiting a long, long time. It raises one gnarled hand. Embedded in the palm is a tiny silver butterfly. Your mother's hair clip. Still shining. Still beautiful. She tried to run. Your grandmother tried to forget. But you came back. Your thoughts flashed to the journal. The sealed jar. The key wrapped in thread. Everything was meant to keep it down. Keep it fed. You weren't supposed to be freed, you whisper. You were supposed to rot. The creature chuckles, bones snapping. You can't rot what's already hollow. With a sudden lurch, it lunges forward. You scream and dive to the side, just barely avoiding its reach. Your hand finds the broken mirror shard, and with a wild cry, you slash upward. The mirror shard connects, not with flesh, but with something colder than ice. It burns your skin on contact, but the creature reels, shrieking. Smoke pours from the wound as if you'd opened a furnace. You scramble to your feet, breathing hard. The creature slinks backward, watching you now, studying. And then it says, almost lovingly, "You are the final door." And it vanishes into the hole. Gone. For now. But the room is different. Warped. Alive. And beneath your feet, the floorboards begin to beat like a heart. You're still standing in the ruined room, your breath ragged, your knuckles white around the mirror shard. The hole in the floor is gone. The boards are sealed again, but not cleanly. You can see the lines where they split, the knots where something washed you through them. You kneel down and press your palm to the floor. It's warm and pulsing, like a living thing. Your stomach turns. You stumble to the wall and brace yourself, struggling not to vomit. The whispering has stopped. The house is still, but somehow that silence feels worse. Something is waiting. You know you don't have long. Whatever that creature was, it isn't gone. It's watching, waiting, moving through the bones of the house. You need answers. You pull the journal from your coat pocket. Pages flutter with your shaking hands. Ink bleeds across the paper, words scrawled in desperate loops and slashes. And then, something strange. A passage you hadn't noticed before. Not there when you read it earlier. If you hear her, it's already too late. She left part of herself behind. She couldn't burn it. Not all of it. The voice will follow the blood. You flip forward, and more lines appear, written in different handwriting. A thinner, more delicate script. You recognize it. Your mother's. I tried. I buried it deeper than she did. The whispers started when I was 8. I dreamed of the red door before I even knew it was real. I left the house for you. I hoped you'd never come back. But if you're reading this, you pause. Your heartbeat pounds in your ears. The next line is still wet, still being written, right in front of you. You have to find a second room. The mirror behind you groans. You spin around, and the reflection has changed again. Not a shape this time, a hallway. Different from the one you're in. Narrow, wallpapered in a rotting green pattern. A staircase at the end leads down. You look behind you. No hallway. But in the mirror, it's waiting. And you hear it just once. Come find me. Not the creature's voice. Your mother's. Soft. Tired. Terrified. You touch the mirror, and the surface ripples like water. With a breath like a prayer, you step through. Your fingers pierce the mirror like smoke, and the cold that floods up your arm feels like it's dragging your bones through ice. You take one step forward, and you're gone. No sound. No flash. Just gone. You land on creaking boards, knees buckling slightly beneath you. The mirror behind you is now solid again. A flat, tarnished pane of glass hung on the wall of a new hallway. Narrow, cramped. The ceiling is lower here, sagging. The air is colder. Your breath clouds in front of you in the greenish gloom. The walls are lined with photographs, none framed. Just curled, yellowing prints pinned into the wallpaper like insects. You approach one. It's your grandmother, young, maybe 16. Her eyes are wide with fear. Standing behind her is that man again, the one from the photo, the hollow man. But in this image, his face is completely covered in shadow, except for his mouth. That mouth, grinning, too many teeth. You keep walking. The floor beneath you is soft in places, spongy. Every so often you swear the wood pulses like it's breathing. You pass more photos. Your mother, younger than you've ever seen her. And then you as a toddler, sitting on your grandmother's lap. And in the background, almost invisible, a figure standing just inside the doorway, watching. Your blood runs cold. The hallway opens into a room. This one's different. It isn't decayed like the first. It's preserved, dustless, silent. A single oil lamp burns on the far wall. Beneath it, a child's bed. The covers are neatly tucked in. A stuffed bear rests on the pillow. And on the far side of the room, another door, red, the same shade as the one before. But this one bleeds. Thick trails of crimson ooze from the cracks in the frame, staining the floor in slow, pulsing drips. You take a step closer, and the lamp dims. Shadows twist on the walls like writhing roots. Then the door begins to shake. From behind it, a scraping sound, like nails on stone. Then a voice. Not your mother, not the hollow man. A child's voice. Yours. Please, let me out now. Please, I don't want to be here anymore. Your throat tightens. You want to turn and run, but the door shudders again. Bang, bang, bang. Then silence. Then, softly, we remember you. You stand before the bleeding red door, heart hammering like a fist inside your chest. The floor beneath you pulses with it. Everything here moves with a slow, sick rhythm, like the walls are waiting to exhale. You touch the doorknob. It's warm. It feels alive. You yank your hand back, but the moment your skin breaks contact, the door groans. A long, low sound like a dying animal. The floor beneath you shivers, and the walls begin to drip. Not blood this time. Ink. Thick, oily black ink, seeping from the wallpaper seams, pouring from the mouths of picture frames. The air fills with the scent of rust and old paper. You spin, looking for a way out. The hallway is gone, replaced by more walls, pressed tightly around you, forming a suffocating square. You're locked in, and then the journal in your coat flutters again. Pages turning on their own, rustling like whispers. You yank it out. A new page writes itself in thick, inky loops. The door only opens for blood. But not just any blood. The key was buried in you. She placed it there to keep it safe. You stop breathing. The key is inside you. A cold sweat breaks out along your neck. You back away from the journal, but the writing continues. Cut, just below the ribs. Left side, it's curled around your spine. No, you say aloud. That's insane. But then a shape moves in the corner of the room. Not stepping, peeling itself from the wall like wet paper. It's you, or something wearing your face. Its skin is stretched too tight, eyes too dark. It smiles, a deep, cracked smile that splits down to the throat. And it holds something in its hand, a long, thin knife. Let me help, it says in your voice. You grab the mirror shard and hold it out like a blade. Stay away. It steps forward, knife raised. But not to strike you, to offer it. You'll never leave unless you do it. She locked it inside so deep, only pain can reach it. The room contracts. Closer, closer. The doppelganger smiles wider, pressing the knife into your hand. You have to bleed where she buried the memory. You feel it now, a throb in your side, like something under the skin has woken up. Something old, coiled, waiting. You raise the knife, and you begin to cut. The blade trembles in your hand. It's cold, far colder than it should be, as if it had been buried in snow or drawn from something long dead. Your skin resists at first, but the deeper the knife sinks, the more familiar the pain becomes. Like waking up from anesthesia to remember something awful. Your vision blurs. Your knees nearly give out, but something moves inside you. Just below the ribs, like the journal said. A tug, a twitch. The doppelganger watches silently, its head tilted in curiosity or delight. You grit your teeth and press harder. Blood runs warm down your side, and suddenly, click. Not an audible sound, a sensation, a mechanical pop, like a latch giving way. Deep inside, your hand plunges in instinctively, and you feel something slick, something not part of you. You scream as your fingers brush it, thin, cold, metallic. Wound tightly like wire around bone. It pulses when you touch it. You tug, and the thing uncoils from your spine like a parasite tearing loose. Pain lances through your entire body. Your ears ring. Your vision flashes white. And then you're on the floor, gasping, shaking, the object clutched in your blood-soaked hand. It's a key, no larger than a sewing needle, carved from bone, bound with black twine that rides on its own. The doppelganger nods. Now you remember. You look up. Remember what? Its face stretches wider, too wide. That she gave it to you when you were born. You shake your head. No, I'd remember. But you do. It floods back all at once. A cradle, your mother weeping, your grandmother chanting something in another language as she drives a long pin into your side, sewing something into you, whispering. Keep it safe. Keep it hidden. It must never wake. But it's awake now. The key pulses in your hand once, twice. Then the red door moans. Its veins widen. Its bleeding slows. And slowly, terribly, it unlocks itself. You don't move. You know the moment you cross that threshold, there's no coming back. But then you hear it again. Her voice. Your mother's. Close now. Please. Before it finds me again. And so, bleeding, breathless, hands shaking, you turn the knob, and you go through the door. The door swings open without a sound. No kriak, no groan, just silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. You take one step inside, and the door closes behind you with a snap. You don't turn around. The air is thick here, heavy with dust and something else, something sweet and rotten like spoiled fruit in an old attic. It smells familiar, comforting even. That's what scares you most. This room is different from the others. Larger, circular, draped in fabric that hangs from the ceiling like skin. Red curtains line the walls, all of them trembling slightly as if breathing. In the center of the room is a chair, and in that chair, your mother. You freeze. She's older than you remember. Not just older, decayed. Her hair is gray, falling in brittle strands around her face. Her skin is papery, sunken, but her eyes are unmistakable. Still sharp, still scared, still hers. She opens her mouth to speak, but no sound comes out. Only a choking gasp. Her throat spasms. Her jaw quivers. She tries again, but what comes out is not her voice. You shouldn't have come. It's her lips moving, but something else speaking through them. You take a step back. Mom! She blinks rapidly. Tears roll down her cheeks. She tries to speak again, but her mouth jerks open too wide, and she retches. Not vomit, but ribbons of black thread, pouring from between her lips like she's unraveling. The threads hang from her mouth, twitching like worms. You rush forward instinctively, reaching for her, but something moves in the corner of the room. Not your reflection this time. Something taller, something thin, the hollow man, standing behind the curtain, watching. You brought the key, he says, voice like gravel, sliding over bone. Your mother begins to convulse in the chair, the black thread snaking tighter around her neck, her wrists pulling her back, puppeteering her. You scream and grab the shard of mirror still in your coat. The hollow man steps closer, but he doesn't cross the circle of red cloth. You realize the fabric on the floor forms a boundary. A ring. A seal. You cross into it. The air changes. Your mother gasps and the thread snaps loose. She falls forward into your arms, sobbing. You open the door, she whispers. He can't be caged again. Not now. You hold her. We'll find a way. I'll fix it. Just tell me what to do. She looks up at you with tear-streaked eyes. You can't kill what doesn't live. Behind you, the hollow man raises one hand, and the curtains burst into flame. The curtains ignite with a sound like whispering teeth, not the roar of fire, but the hiss of something hungry. Flames race along the fabric in spirals, the smoke thick and oily. It doesn't rise. It sinks, curling around your ankles, seeping into the floor, slithering toward you like living fog. You grab your mother's arm. She's barely able to stand, bones too thin, body too cold. We have to go, you say. She nods weakly, her eyes locked on the hollow man. He doesn't move. He watches from behind the flames, a silhouette wrapped in shadows. No face, just a grin that stretches impossibly wide, like a slice across a curtain. The moment you step outside the red circle, the temperature changes. Not heat, cold. The fire is burning, but it doesn't give warmth. It devours everything except you. The walls vanish behind the smoke. There's no door, no hallway, no way out. Just a swirling storm of gray fog and sickly orange light. And then the whispering starts again. Lo, urgent. She lied to you. You spin. What? Your mother slumps against you. She said it was buried. The voice continues. She said it would sleep. The flames form shapes now. Memories. Flickering scenes in fire. A child screaming in a crib, watched by something tall in the dark. A girl. Your mother, standing in a cellar, holding a jar, whispering words in a dead language. A woman. Your grandmother, dragging a sack into the woods. Blood seeping from the bottom. And then you, crying in your mother's arms as she stitches something into your side. Whispering through tears. Forgive me. I have to hide it. I have to break the line. You stare into the flames. It wasn't just protection. It was containment. The key wasn't meant to open the door. It was meant to bind it shut. But now the door is open, and your blood carried the invitation. The fire dies all at once, gone in a blink as though sucked into the walls. The hollow man is no longer across the room. He's behind you. You don't see him. You feel him, breathing down your neck, his fingers grazing the air behind your spine. Your mother whispers, barely audible. Run. You don't think. You just move, dragging your mother's limp body through the room. You burst through the invisible boundary where the red circle once burned and into pure ash. The fire is gone, but its memory clings to everything. The air is dense with soot, choking your lungs, blinding your eyes. What little light remains flickers like candlelight inside a coffin. You hear behind you, not footsteps, clicking, like bones tapping wood. You risk a glance over your shoulder. The hollow man doesn't walk. He glides tall and impossibly narrow, his limbs swinging too far, too slow, like a puppet whose strings are being cut one by one. He's close, too close. You dive through a doorway that wasn't there seconds ago, the house shifting to keep the game going. The hallway you fall into is narrow, crooked. A child's mobile dangles from the ceiling, its hanging pieces made of teeth. You run, your mother half conscious in your arms. She whispers again. He isn't the worst thing in this place. What do you mean? You ask, your voice shaking. She looks at you with watery eyes. He serves something. The hallway groans, shifting behind you. The sound of splintering wood and something wet dragging along the floor. You reach another door, cracked slightly open, light flickering inside. You kick it open. Inside is a room unlike the rest, perfectly clean. A child's room, but not just any child. Yours, your toys, your drawings on the walls. And sitting in the corner, in a tiny rocking chair, is a figure made of ash and cloth. A child's size. Its head droops forward, limbs limp. Sewn lips, button eyes. Your mother gasps. No, she says. You were never supposed to remember this room. The doll in the chair lifts its head. Its jaw creaks open. You left me here. It's your voice, your child voice, but it isn't you. It's too cold, too still. I didn't, you whisper. You did. The figure stands, ash crumbling from its shoulders. Its arms unfold slowly, revealing long fingers made of stapled skin. I watched him. I kept him locked in the floor. But you let him out. Behind you, the hallway snaps shut, the walls slamming together like a mouth closing. The child doll smiles. Now you have to feed him again. The air in the child's room becomes heavy, oppressive. Dust hangs in place like it's underwater. The doll version of you takes another slow step forward, its button eyes clicking as it tilts its head. Your mother grips your arm tightly. Her voice is barely above a whisper. This is where we put it. You turn to her. What do you mean? She won't meet your eyes. It needed a watcher, someone who wouldn't forget. We didn't know it would grow. Her voice breaks. We didn't know it would become you. The doll smiles. Not me. What I watched. A loud thump shakes the floor. Then another. The rocking chair creaks behind the doll, rocking on its own now. Back and forth. Back and forth. The floorboards beneath it bulge. Then crack. Splinters rise as something presses from beneath. like fingers clawing at the underside of the room. Your doll self stretches out an arm, pointing to the spot. You fed it once when you were little. Remember? You shake your head. You did. You brought it birds. Then mice. Then another thud. This one louder. A groan rises from under the boards, like something exhaling for the first time in years. Then your father, the doll whispers. You stagger back. No, that's not true. Your mother's face is pale, trembling. I told him he left, she says. I told you he walked away. But he didn't. Her voice breaks. We couldn't let it out. He was the last one we could offer it. The floorboards split wide open. From the hole rises a smell that makes your eyes sting. Mildew, meat, and something older, sour with rot and salted with blood. And then it rises. At first, it looks like hair, black strands dripping up from the floor, too long, too wet. But then the hair parts, and behind it is a face made of stitched mouths. Not eyes, not a nose, just mouths, all whispering at once. Hungry. Your doll self steps backward, reverently. He remembers you. The thing climbs higher, its form barely holding shape. It's not a body. It's a storm of flesh and memory, tied together with wire and thread. Mouths chanting fragments of nursery rhymes and lullabies. Your mother grabs your hand and shoves something into it. The bone key, now twitching. You can still bind it, she says. But not alone. It takes two. The thing rears up, its mouth screeching. You must remember what we forgot. The rhyme. The ritual. What ritual? She touches your forehead, tears streaming down her face. The rhyme that keeps him asleep. The thing crawling through the hole is not a creature. It's a secret that refused to stay buried. It drips from the floor like oil and bone, mouths whispering and screaming at once, repeating broken words. She said the rhyme, but she forgot the last line. The room pulses around you. The light dims. The toy blocks on the shelf begin to melt. The walls curl inward like paper in a fire. Everything bends toward him. The one your mother calls the bound one, the thing beneath the floorboards. You stare down at the key in your hand. It rides like a worm. It wants to be used. Your mother holds your face between her trembling hands. Listen to me, she says. You knew this once. When you were 3, you said in your sleep. You had it memorized before we did. I don't. You start. She squeezes your face tighter. You do. It's in you. The doll, the child version of you, begins to chant. Softly, in your voice. First comes the hush, then comes the door. Don't speak a name, don't touch the floor. Your lips move before you can stop them. Tie it with bone, stitch it with thread. If you hear him whisper, pretend you're dead. The thing shrieks, recoiling. Your mother joins in, louder now, her voice shaking. Draw the circle, turn the key. Lock the mouth so none can see. The floor begins to knit itself back together, slowly. The black strands writhe in fury, the stitched mouths howling now. But you can't remember the last line, the most important one. Your mother gasps and grips her chest, eyes wide in sudden pain. Blood seeps from her nose. He's fighting it, she whispers. You need to finish it. The doll takes a step forward, voice like gravel in a nursery. Forget the words, forget your name. Let him out and play the game. No, you remember now. The rhyme isn't just a spell. It's a choice. You shut your eyes. Focus. Go deeper. And then you hear your child self whispering in your mind. Your real self, years ago, alone in a crib, saying the final line over and over while something watched from the ceiling. But if he smiles, don't turn around. Just burn the house and salt the ground. You scream the final line. The room explodes with light. The mouths burst open with fire. The hair shrivels. The floor slams shut over the creature, crushing it mid-scream. Your mother collapses. Your doll self falls limp, smoke curling from its button eyes. The silence is instant. But something's wrong. The bone key turns black in your hand. The door is still open. And now, from far down the hall, you hear another whisper. Not male. Not the hollow man. Your grandmother. You should never have spoken the rhyme in the wrong house. The world reforms around you, but it's not the same house. The walls are taller. The ceilings droop like curtains soaked in rain. The wallpaper peels and strips, revealing scratched words beneath. Names, dates, some written backward. You know this place. You haven't been here in years, but it still smells the same. Lavender and vinegar and something burnt. Your grandmother's house. You stand up slowly, knees trembling, the blackened bone key still pulsing in your hand. Your mother lies unconscious beside you, breathing shallowly. The doll version of yourself is gone. Just ash now, and a single melted button on the floor. Where are we? You whisper, but you already know. The kitchen is to the left, where the cabinets don't quite close. The staircase is just ahead, still missing the third step. And beyond that, the basement door, locked since you were a child. From the hallway, you hear it. The shuffle of slippers, the sound of a cane on tile, and a voice, cracked like dried paper, ancient and sharp. Come in, little one. We have so much to finish. You pick up your mother, dragging her down the hallway toward the kitchen. But every step you take echoes wrong, louder than it should be, repeating itself in reverse, like the house is rehearsing your arrival. You push through the kitchen door and stop. She's sitting at the table, your grandmother, just as you remember her, but not alive. Her eyes are fogged over like blown glass, her skin too smooth, like something poured into a mold of her body and left to harden. Her fingers twitch, long and thin, like wire wrapped in silk. The kettle hisses on the stove, but there's no steam. She smiles, or tries to. Her lips have been sewn shut, yet the voice comes anyway, not from her mouth, but from somewhere behind her, whispering through the cracks in the walls. You broke the binding. You woke the old one, and now the cost must be paid. You back away, heart hammering. Your grandmother raises one hand and points to the basement door. It opens by itself. You feel it before you see it. The cold, the breath of something waiting. Your mother stirs in your arms. Her voice is dry and terrified. Don't go down there. That's where they kept the first name. What name? You ask. But she won't say. She won't even think it. And then the voice from the basement laughs. Not loud, not cruel, just patient. The name that opens all doors. The basement door stands open like a mouth waiting to swallow you. From the threshold, a gust of air blows upward. Not cold, not warm, but hollow, like breath from a cavern that hasn't seen daylight in 100 years. You hesitate. Behind you, your grandmother's body twitches at the table. Her sewn-shut mouth creaks slightly with each movement, the stitches pulling tighter as if trying to burst open. You look down at your mother. She shakes her head violently, whispering, "Don't go down. We locked it for a reason." But the key in your hand pulses. Hot now, eager, like a heartbeat. The bone key wants the door. It was made for it. The walls tremble with a faint whisper, voices bleeding in from unseen corners, repeating the rhyme in fragments, broken like a scratched record. Lock the mouth. Turn the key. If he smiles, you take the first step down. It doesn't creak. It doesn't even feel like wood. The stairs beneath your feet are wrong. Too soft, too quiet. Almost like stepping on a muscle, slick and warm beneath a wooden mask. You stop and look back. The doorway above is already shrinking. Your mother is gone. The kitchen too. Only your grandmother remains. Her eyes following you, unblinking, pupils gone entirely white. She lifts her hand slowly and presses a single finger to her lips. Don't speak. You descend further. The light disappears behind you. You keep your eyes open, but everything is black. Not dim, not dark, but total. As if your eyes have been swallowed. Then the stairs curve. Not a gentle turn. A spiral, tightening with every step. The air thickens. Sweet, like perfume left too long in the bottle. You gag, covering your mouth, but the smell pushes inside you, through your nose, your ears, your pores. And then you start to hear them. Footsteps behind you. Not echoing. Following. You stop. They stop. You move again. They match you. Faster. Closer. Right behind. You turn. There's nothing. Until something touches your hand. You yank it back instinctively, but something soft brushes your knuckles again. Fingers. Small ones. A child's. And then a voice, low and ancient, breathing directly into your ear. Do you remember what name they buried in you? Your legs weaken. You fall forward and land not on stairs, but on earth. The spiral ends. You've reached the bottom room. You land on something soft, not quite soil, not quite flesh. The darkness is total, but you know you're no longer alone. The air is wet, like you've fallen into the lungs of some sleeping god. You rise slowly, fingers brushing across the floor. It pulses. There's a rhythm to it, like a heartbeat, but too slow. Not human. Then a match lights in front of you. It floats in the air, just inches from your face. No hand holds it, but the flame flickers in a breathless room. And beneath that faint light, you see what's waiting. You're in a round chamber, its walls slick with something dark and living. Shapes are pressed into the surface, faces, hundreds of them, mouths wide open but silent. Their expressions are frozen in terror, agony, and something else. Relief. In the center of the room stands a well. No rope, no bucket, just a circle of rough stone with claw marks along the rim, as if something inside had once tried to climb out and almost made it. The match dies. Darkness again. And then the whispers return. Not one, not many, but all. They rise like steam from the well. Voices in every pitch and cadence, layered on top of each other in a hurricane of memory. They speak your name, your true name, the one your mother tried to erase, the one your grandmother sealed in the binding rhyme, the one the hollow man hunts for with every grin. You scream, but there's no sound, only the rumble of something waking far below. And then a shape emerges from the well. At first, it looks like a child, naked, pale, crawling with insect-like motions, its joints bending wrong. But as it rises, the shape distorts, stretches. Each movement unfurls another limb, another mouth, another eye, until it towers above you, a tree made of bodies wrapped in one skin. And at its center is a hole, not a wound, an absence, a place where your face once was. It speaks, but not aloud. It presses the words into your head. You were made to carry me. You were made to forget. But forgetting has a cost. You stagger back. The bone key in your hand pulses violently, then splits in two, spilling dust. The creature leans forward. Its voice is now inside you. Give me my name, or take your place in the wall. You glance around at the faces trapped in the walls, all watching, all waiting. Some of them you recognize. Aunts, cousins, even your father. And one in the far corner, broken and weeping, is you. You don't remember walking, but now you're standing in front of the wall. The version of you pressed into the stone is still breathing, eyes twitching beneath closed lids, lips moving ever so slightly, whispering something soundless. As you watch, a tear leaks from its eye, dark, thick like ink. Your body goes cold. That's the version of you that stayed. The many-limbed thing says behind you. Its voice echoes through the well, deeper than thought. You turn slowly. The creature no longer resembles anything human. It has unfolded itself, revealing a library of limbs, faces, mouths, each mouth whispering a different memory. One murmurs your first birthday song. Another hisses your old imaginary friend's name. Another sobs your mother's lullaby. Out of tune, but real. They are all you. Each time you forgot. It says, I took the memory. I ate the name behind it. You shake your head. No, you were locked down here. You were buried. By the family. By your blood. And you were their last mouth. The whispers in the walls begin to rise. The last whisper. The final name. And then the wall shifts. The stone buckles outward as something forms beneath it. A mirror pressed through the rock. But it's not made of glass. It's made of flesh. A pale sheet stretched tight across a frame of ribs. Inside it, shadows flicker, your face, your true self, watching. The creature slithers forward, extending one long, trembling finger toward the mirror. Look, you don't want to. You can't. But you do. Inside the mirror, your reflection is not yours. It's a child. You, younger. The version that fed the hole. The one that whispered the rhyme. It looks up at you with wide, terrified eyes. If you say the name, the child mouth whispers. He goes free. If you don't, The child reaches out. You take my place. The mirror pulses. The wall behind you groans. The thing with Minnie Mouse laughs, its joy ragged and full of teeth. Say the name. It says. Your family already did. Then you hear it from behind the wall. A new voice. Your grandmother. Weak, broken, but clear. I'm sorry, little one. But it always comes to the youngest. You realize now. You were never the key. You were the lock. The mirror flesh ripples before you, forming cracks that pulse with soft, meaty light, like veins filled with memory. The child behind the mirror, your younger self, presses its hand to the inside of the surface. Its eyes plead, but its mouth trembles like it's about to speak a forbidden word. Behind you, the many-limbed creature paces, its movements spidery, careful. Each step leaves a thin trail of ash and blood. The hundreds of mouths along its body move in patterns, some praying, some screaming, and some singing. Not songs of joy, lullabies warped by time and loss. Funeral songs for children who never made it past 3. You stare at the mirror. You want to smash it, tear it down, but your hands won't move. Something is holding them. You glance down. Hands are growing from the floor. Dozens of them. Child-size, pale, thin, reaching up from the earth like sprouting weeds. Fingers digging into your ankles, your calves, your thighs. They don't pull you down. Not yet. They just hold, like they're waiting for a decision. The creature leans in close. One of its eyes, dark as space, opens near your shoulder. Say it. It breathes. You've known it all along. You've just chosen not to remember. You grit your teeth. No. The creature grins. 1,000 mouths mimic your defiance. The mirror flashes, and now the child's reflection is screaming, but still silent, mouth open wide, a black fog pouring out. And within that fog, a shape begins to rise. Tall, thin, smiling. The hollow man. No longer just an echo. No longer just a whisper behind the wall. He's in the mirror, watching you. You feel the name forming on your tongue. Not in language, not in words. It's more like gravity. A heaviness in your chest, pulling every thought toward it. Your lips part. You almost say it, but something grabs your wrist. A warm hand. Your mother's. She's standing now, behind you, pale and shaking, blood trickling from her nose. Her eyes are wide, but her voice is clear. Don't speak it, she whispers. Let it die in you. That's the only way. The hollow man's grin fades. The child in the mirror freezes. The many-mouthed thing snarls. If the name dies, so do the memories. So do your stories, your joys, yourself. Your mother squeezes your wrist tighter. Some memories are cages. Let them rust. You look into the mirror. The child is reaching out. So close. But behind it, the hollow man moves forward. A whisper drips from his grin. If not you, your children. The hands on your legs tighten. Your choice. Speak the name. Let the hollow man rise. Or bury it and lose the last piece of yourself. The world stills. You feel your breath hitch in your chest. Not because you're afraid. You've been afraid for so long it feels like air, but because something inside you is splitting. The mirror flickers. The child within no longer cries, no longer screams. It's waiting. Your younger self stares at you, hands still outstretched, eyes filled with knowing. Not innocence, but the cruel clarity of someone who has seen the truth and still walked into the dark. Behind it, the hollow man whispers again, voice now smooth, honeyed, coaxing. Let me out. Just say it. Only a whisper. Only once. You won't even feel the world change. Until it's too late. The hands on your legs are tightening. They start to pull. Not violently. Not fast. But with conviction. Your mother is still holding your wrist, her other hand trembling near her pocket. She pulls something out. A photograph. Wrinkled. Torn. A picture of you as a baby, her arms wrapped around you. A birthday cake in the background. Someone, maybe your father, standing behind the camera. A moment you don't remember. I gave up everything to keep you from remembering, she says, voice shaking. Every birthday, every holiday, I fed it pieces of your life to keep it sleeping. I starved it with your joy. That's why you never smiled right. You look down at the photo. The baby in the picture, You isn't crying, but you're not smiling either. Just staring, blank, empty-eyed. Even then, you were already part of this. You look back at the mirror. The hollow man is closer. He's not behind the child anymore. He's becoming it. The smile grows across the child's face like a crack in porcelain. A laugh bubbles up from the glass, slow and sticky like rising tar. Your name, your real name, thrums in your skull like a struck bell. Say it, he says. Give it shape. Your mouth opens, and in that second, the world slows. You see two futures unfold like petals. One, you speak the name. The mirror shatters. The hollow man steps free. Everyone forgets what happened, but things begin to vanish. Your friends stop returning calls. Doors open into places that don't belong. Shadows no longer stay where they should. And your smile, your real one, returns. But it isn't yours anymore. Two, you don't. You close your lips. The name dies in your mouth like a swallowed seed. The mirror melts. The child in the glass begins to scream. The wall takes you. You forget who you are, and the hollow man fades for a while longer. You swallow and make your choice. You close your mouth. The name curls behind your teeth like a dying leaf, trembling, brittle, begging for air. But you don't give it breath. The hollow man's smile falters. His hands, once reaching through the mirror's skin, begin to wither. The child in the mirror stares at you in horror. You have to say it. It cries, though no sound escapes the glass. I'm not strong enough to hold him. You shake your head. You already held him. That's what we are. The many-limbed thing behind you screams. Its voice is shrieking in a disharmonious choir of fury. The walls ripple as the faces scream with it, mouths wide in silent panic. You turn to your mother. She's weeping now, but there's a smile on her lips, a real one. You did it, she whispers. You broke the chain. The photograph in her hand burns away into ash. The image erased. That version of you gone. You feel something twist inside you. A deep, sickening pull like roots ripping free of soil. The hands beneath you begin to drag. The wall opens. Not a door, not a crack, a mouth. It yawns wide, lined with teeth made from old toys, baby teeth, tiny bones, all the things you left behind to stay safe. You look at your mother one last time. Will it hurt? You ask. She leans forward, presses her lips to your forehead. Only until you forget. The wall closes around you. Darkness. Not black, blank. No more whispers. No more rhyme. No name. Just a silence that goes on forever. And then, nothing. Your lips part. And the name, that terrible, forgotten name buried so deep it was sewn into your DNA, slips free. You don't even recognize it as speech. It doesn't sound like a word. It sounds like a crack in the sky, like laughter breaking through tears. The mirror doesn't shatter, it melts. The child in the glass grins wide, wider than a mouth should. His teeth are no longer human. They are keys, each one carved with a different version of you. The hollow man steps through. He doesn't walk. He unfolds, peeling out of the mirror like a trick of the light. His body is tall and thin, draped in a suit that doesn't fit right, always shifting, too short, too long. His grin splits his face, running ear to ear. You fall to your knees. The room tilts. The walls breathe. And then, behind you, your mother screams. She stumbles back, arms flailing, trying to grab you. But her hands are smoking, her skin blistering, as if touching the air around you now is dangerous. You said it, she gasps. You let him in. The hollow man looks down at you with empty eyes. You remembered me, he says. His voice is like all your nightmares speaking at once. He leans down, and his forehead touches yours. Your skin prickles. And then he inhales. Your memories, your childhood, the taste of your name, your mother's lullabies, your secret hiding places. All of it pours out of you like smoke. You scream, but there's nothing left to scream about. Behind you, the well collapses. The whispering walls begin to crumble, and the many-mouthed creature lets out a shriek of terror, not triumph. As it is ripped apart, its pieces sucked back into the hollow man's form. You realize now, he wasn't trapped. He was building himself, using you, using your family, one aim at a time. The hollow man straightens, dusts off his suit. He turns to your mother. You kept me waiting long enough, he says. But I'm very patient. She trembles. Take me then. Leave my child. He smiles. Oh no, you've already given the child. And I never give gift back. He walks past her, and where he steps, the air cracks. The world changes. You try to stand, but your body is no longer yours. You're grinning. You cannot stop. You cannot blink. The hollow man is inside you now. And as you walk out of the basement, you feel the names return. But they aren't your families. They're strangers. New keys. New doors. New mouths to open. You walk out of the basement with a smile that isn't yours. The old house groans behind you, shedding dust like skin. The hallway seems longer now, the walls pulsing with each step. You hear footsteps behind the walls, slow and dragging, like someone following just out of sight. Your mother calls your name, but that name doesn't fit anymore. It sounds wrong, too small. You turn to her. Her mouth trembles. She sees it in your eyes. You're not alone inside. What are you now? She whispers. You smile wider. Hungry. She drops to her knees, weeping. I should have burned the house when I had the chance. You lean in close. But you didn't. You whisper. You let it live in me. Just like your mother did. Just like hers did. You were a doorway. And now so am I. You walk out into the world. The wind tastes sweet like memory. Above you, the clouds are swirling, though no storm has been forecast. The street looks the same, but it feels thinner, like reality is a sheet stretched over something else, waiting to break through. Children are playing down the road. You stop at the edge of the sidewalk, watching. One of them sees you. She waves. You wave back, still smiling. Want to hear a rhyme? You ask. The girl pauses. Shrugs. Sure. You kneel in front of her, still smiling. Here's how it starts, you say, and from your mouth comes the whisper. Down by the wall, the shadows bend. Count to 10 and lose your friend. The girl freezes. Her eyes cloud for a moment, like something just left her. Her hand twitches. Far behind her, a door in her house opens by itself. No one notices, but you do. The hollow man watches through your eyes. He's spreading, and soon there'll be more rhymes. More rooms. More children who hear the whisper and find the mirror. They'll choose. Just like you did. Some will bury the name. Some will speak it. But all will be changed. The girl's name was Lena. 7 years old. 2 missing teeth. A habit of talking to things that weren't quite there. After she heard the rhyme from your lips, something inside her shifted. Not in a violent way. Not at first. Just enough. That night, her mother found her staring at the wall. Not drawing. Not talking. Just staring. Lena, her mother asked, setting the laundry basket down. Lena didn't move. He's behind it, she said at last. He's just waiting. Her mother laughed it off at first, a child's imagination. But later that week, Lena stopped responding to her name altogether. She would only look up when her mother said, "What's your real name?" Lena would smile, but never answer. A week later, her mother found drawings tucked beneath her bed, made in crayon and black marker. Each showed the same man. Tall, suit too tight, mouth too wide. Sometimes he was in Lena's room. Sometimes in the school hallway. Sometimes standing behind her mother. By the end of the month, 2 other children at Lena's school started humming the rhyme at recess. Then a third. Then a fourth. The teachers laughed. Thought it was a TikTok trend they hadn't seen yet. They tried to track it down. But there was no video. No source. Just a song, spreading from child to child. Whisper once and you'll forget. Whisper twice, it's not done yet. Whisper 3 and take his hand. Welcome to the Hollow Land. One night, Lena disappeared. Her window was still locked from the inside. No footprints. No sign of struggle. Just a sticky, dark handprint pressed on the bedroom wall. The wallpaper peeled around it. Her parents begged the police for answers. But nobody could explain the recordings they pulled from the baby monitor. Just static, layered with faint, breathy laughter. In a different part of town, you watched the news. You weren't surprised. You were waiting. The hollow man doesn't rush. He waits for the name to echo enough times that it becomes a melody. And now, the song is spreading. WY now. 5 children are gone. They didn't run away. They weren't taken. They were called. Each left behind strange signs. Drawings of walls with faces. Closets filled with string and teeth. whispered words caught faintly on baby monitors or old cassette tapes. One child left a message carved into the inside of her school desk. He knows my real name now. The police didn't connect the dots, but others did. In a dusty basement lined with newspaper clippings and old cassette recordings, a man named Henry Bale traced the patterns. He was once a child too. Long ago, he had heard the rhyme, but unlike the others, he never answered it. He never said the name, and yet it had marked him. He never married, never had children, too afraid the name would follow. But now it was out again. Henry sat in the dark, playing the same tape over and over. A girl's voice, singing the familiar words. He hides in words you try to say. He loves when parents look away. He pressed stop, looked up. His walls were covered in articles, yarn connections, black and white photos of missing children through the decades. Some from before there were cameras. Some faces faded with time, all with the same look in their eyes, the same hollowness. Henry flipped a switch on a reel-to-reel player. A new voice hissed through the speakers. I buried the name, but it grew back. Henry's hand shook. He knew what was coming. He'd seen it in his dreams. A door with no frame. A room that whispered. A man with too many teeth. He opened his desk drawer, pulled out the sealed envelope he swore he'd never open. The handwriting on it was his own from decades ago. Shaky, childlike, only if it wakes. He tore it open. Inside, a drawing, a wall, a mirror, and a name written in red crayon, carefully, like it mattered. Henry stared at it. Sweat rolled down his neck. From the corner of the room, the tape hissed again, and behind it, something else joined the static. A voice, soft and deliberate. It's time to finish what they started. Henry sat motionless, the envelope in his lap, the name staring up at him. It had been over 30 years since he last saw it written down. Even longer since he'd dared to say it. And even then, he'd only whispered half of it, muffled into a pillow, after a dream that left his sheets soaked and his throat bleeding. He hadn't spoken it since. I thought it would die, he muttered, staring at the mirror on the far wall of his basement. I thought maybe forgetting was enough. But he knew better now. You don't kill the hollow man. You contain him. You mislead him. You feed him just enough to keep him starving. But someone had said the name aloud. Now the rhyme was blooming again. Henry stood slowly, his knees aching with every click of the joint. He crossed to the cabinet beneath the stairs and unlocked it. Inside were old cassette tapes, yellowing files, rusted lockboxes. He took one, a black leather-bound journal with a latch. The words across the cover. Do not write his name. He opened it anyway. Inside were case notes. Dozens. All in his hand. All carefully copied from others who had heard the whisper before. From Margaret Glenn, the librarian who burned her own face to silence the voices. From Elias Brown, the man who painted only in black and red and disappeared after finishing The Wall That Breathes. And from Daniel, Henry's older brother, the first victim he ever saw vanish. He turned to the last page, the one he had never dared read before. It was paper-clipped shut. He removed the clip. It was a letter. If you're reading this, it means he's back. The rhyme doesn't just call him, it remakes him. Every time it's spoken, he gets smarter, stronger. He learns how to hide better, how to look more like us. You have to find the children before he finishes the song, before the final verse is whispered. Because that's the key. The final verse doesn't open a door. It removes the wall. Henry slammed the book shut. He turned to the wall, the mirror, where his own reflection stood, not quite matching. It blinked one beat too late, smiled 1 inch too wide. He backed away. The hollow man wasn't coming. He was already here, and the final verse was close. Down by the wall, the shadows bend. Count to 10 and lose your friend. Whisper once and you'll forget. Whisper twice, it's not done yet. Whisper 3 and take his hand. Welcome to the hollow land. These verses were known, passed, hummed. They were hooks. But the final verse? It was a key, hidden for generations. Burnt out of books, torn from lips, erased from lullabies by terrified grandmothers who rocked their cribs and hummed nonsense instead. Only a few had ever said it aloud. Fewer had survived the echo. Henry Bale sat in his basement. the journal trembling in his hands. The last page revealed. The ink was faded, but there, in the scrawl of his long-dead brother Daniel, was the missing line. Verse 4, it read, not a rhyme, a summons. Beneath it, written shakily in red, if the wall should crack and bleed, speak these words and plant the seed. No more names and no more skin. Let the hollow come within. Henry's breath caught. The air shifted. All the lights in the basement dimmed, as if the darkness itself was breathing in. Something tickled the base of his skull. From a mirror, the reflection now stared openly, not mimicking, watching. It grinned, and behind it, in the glass, something moved. Not a man, a shape, tall, boneless, made of shadow and teeth and the threads of forgotten lullabies. Henry stood. His mouth was dry. If the wall should crack and bleed. The words tasted like rust on his tongue. Speak these words. The reflection nodded slowly, hungrily. And plant the seed. The mirror pulsed. Behind it, walls peeled back like flesh. Henry hesitated. The last two lines lay before him. He could speak them. He could end this, or unleash it. But the final two verses weren't in ink anymore. They were being whispered from the mirror itself now. No more names and no more skin. Let the hollow come within. Henry clamped his hands over his ears. No, but the voice was inside his head now, behind his eyes, inside his teeth. Let the hollow come within. He screamed. The mirror shattered inward, and out stepped something wearing Henry's shape. It wore Henry Bale's shape, but it wasn't him. The thing that stepped from the shattered mirror smiled gently, not wide and wild like the first hollow man, but calm, practiced, human. Almost. The skin was perfect, too perfect, like a mask grown from memory. It adjusted its glasses, tucked the journal under one arm, and then it walked up the basement stairs, humming. A new melody, a newer verse. The air behind it turned thick and dark, like ink in water. Footsteps that weren't footsteps followed it. Each mirror it passed rippled. Each screen flickered. Children across the city, those who had hummed the song, those who had dreamed of walls and whispering cracks, began to hear something new. Not words, not yet. A rhythm, like a heartbeat behind the wall. And from that moment on, those children began to change. In a middle school 2 miles away, a boy named Tyree sat in class. He raised his hand mid-lesson. "What's behind your face, Miss Carter?" he asked. The teacher paused, puzzled. "I'm sorry." Tyrese tilted his head. "I can hear it, breathing, through your eyes." Then he laughed. Not his usual laugh. Something older. By the end of the week, Tyrese stopped talking altogether. But he began drawing constantly. Sketches of mouths that opened sideways, of doorways with fingers, of tunnels and walls that had never existed. In an orphanage near the river, a girl named Lily began writing the rhyme over and over in the dirt with her fingernail. No more names and no more skin. No more names and no more skin. No more names. She hadn't spoken for 3 years. Now she wouldn't stop. She whispered it in her sleep. She scratched it into her bunk frame. Other children began humming along, and in each case, something watched from the shadows of their closets. Not the hollow man exactly, but what the rhyme had allowed. A fracturing, a gathering. The whispering room, once sealed in a single house, now pulsed through power lines, echoed in school hallways, flickered in cracked phone screens. Where once there had been one hollow man, now there would be many, not copies, not clones, versions, fragments of the original, seeded into the minds of children who had heard the fourth verse. Fed by fear, grown by repetition, Henry's body, or what wore it, stood in the center of the city now, on the rooftop of an abandoned hospital. He raised his arms to the fog-choked sky. From all directions, children stopped what they were doing. They turned, they listened, and deep inside, behind their minds, something whispered back. The walls are not real. You were never alone. It's time to come through. It began with a missing road sign, a green one at the highway split. One day it said, "Welcome to Darrington, founded 1826. The next day, it was blank, just chipped paint and rust. Drivers passed it confused but didn't think too hard. The GPS still showed the town. For now. But within Darrington itself, memory was fraying. First it was small things. Street names that no one agreed on. A bakery that people swore had been a hardware store yesterday. Teachers forgetting students' names, even the ones they'd taught for years. Then it got worse. A local boy, Micah Griggs, went missing. His mother ran screaming into the sheriff's office. Said he'd been gone all night, but the sheriff frowned. "Ma'am, you don't have a son." There were no records of him, no photos in the family album. His room was still full of toys. His shoes were still by the door. But no one remembered Micah. Not his classmates, not his cousins, not even his father. Only his mother wept. Desperate, she visited the old house on Barlow Street, the one her grandmother had warned her about, the one with the boarded-up attic and the peeling blue door, the one no one in town owned, and yet never collapsed, never decayed. She stepped inside. The floorboards wept under her weight. The shadows tilted toward her. "I remember him," she whispered, "even if no one else does." From the far room, a mirror creaked, and the whisper came, so soft it made her heart skip. "He's not lost, just taken. You're next." By morning, her house was empty. Neighbors claimed she had moved months ago. Her name faded from records. Darrington kept living. Shops opened. Kids played. But the town was shrinking from the inside. Houses stayed, but people didn't. Or if they did, they were less. Conversations lost their middles. Mail was delivered to places no one lived. The school's morning pledge became distorted. Children stumbling over their own names, blinking as if half asleep. One boy raised his hand and asked the teacher, "What's the name of this town?" The teacher opened her mouth and paused, eyes vacant, jaw working silently. At the back of the class, the smartboard flickered. Words scrolled across it, without anyone typing. "Say his name and fade away. Let your town forget the day. Sing the verse and let it fall. He will build you in the wall." Her name was Tess Morgan, and she was 11. She had lived in Darrington her whole life. At least, she thought she had. But lately, even that was starting to feel like a guess. Each morning, she woke up a little less sure. The faces and the framed photos on the walls were starting to blur. Sometimes her mother looked like a stranger. Sometimes her father didn't come home and no one noticed. She started writing down the day before in a notebook she kept hidden under her bed. Tuesday, school. Rained. Had math. Max tripped and cried. No one laughed. Wednesday. No one remembered Max. Her entries grew more frantic. One morning, she opened the notebook to find pages missing, torn out at jagged angles. She hadn't done it, but someone had. The worst part? Even she couldn't remember what she'd written. That day, she walked home from school past the old fence on Blythe Street, a place the kids whispered about. They said the wall behind the fence was growing, not in height, in length. It ran behind houses, twisted between trees, in places no one remembered building it. Tess approached it slowly, her shoes crunching on gravel. The wall breathed when she touched it. It wasn't made of concrete or wood. It was made of things people forgot. Rusty tricycles, mismatched shoes, locks with no keys, a doll's head embedded in a rotted plank, its eyes fluttering open when she neared. She stepped back, heart racing, and that's when she heard it. From behind the wall, low, close, as if someone were speaking through the gaps between thoughts. "You're not real if no one remembers you." Tess turned to run, but the wall was in front of her now, too. It had twisted while she wasn't looking. Closing. The whisper came again, louder. "Let go. Be part of something bigger. Be the wall." She screamed. A door opened in the wood, and something inside knocked twice. She turned and sprinted home, tears streaking her face. That night, when she opened her notebook to write down what had happened, the pages were blank. The pen wouldn't work, and on the inside of the back cover, a new sentence had appeared in faint red ink. "You're next, Tess." His name was Aaron Kell, and he used to be a journalist. Used to be. Now, he called himself a freelance documentarian, though he hadn't finished a project in 5 years. His obsession had taken over everything else. It began with a single line in a police report about a missing town clerk from Delaware. Claimed her memories were being rewritten. Said the mirrors were lying. Aaron had dug deeper. Found similar stories. Then patterns. Names repeating, places vanishing from digital maps, children drawing rooms that didn't exist, all with the same cracks in the walls. He followed these leads across 3 states, piecing together a trail, one that always ended in nothing. Except once. Darrington. He found it mentioned in an old newspaper microfilm, an archived weather warning from 1982. Storms expected in Darrington and outlying areas. Residents advised to stay indoors. But the strange part? No zip code, no county, and every modern map he checked had no record of the town at all, as if it had fallen between cartographic cracks. And now, something was drawing him closer. He left just before dawn with an analog road map, 2 backup GPS units, and a cassette player filled with found footage tapes and interviews he'd gathered, some featuring children's voices humming, others including muffled fragments of the rhyme. When he crossed into what should have been Darrington's outskirts, his GPS blinked and went blank. No data. The road beneath his tires began to crack. His phone lost signal, and the analog map, it didn't match the terrain anymore. An intersection that should have been there wasn't. Trees pressed closer. Signs flicker between languages, some not human. One said, "You have already been here." Aaron slowed the car. There was no wind, but the leaves moved. He stepped out and listened. In the distance, faintly, like it was leaking through the trees, came the nursery rhyme. Down by the wall, the shadows bend. He swallowed, looked at his cassette recorder. Still playing, but the tape inside was blank. No label. Count to 10 and lose your friend. The trees opened into a clearing. In its center stood a mirror, taller than a man, half sunken into the ground like a tombstone. He walked toward it, and the reflection wasn't him. It was a child version of himself, age 10, nose bleeding, whispering silently. Aaron froze. His reflection opened its mouth, but no sound came, only a knocking from inside the mirror, then a hand pressed against the other side. Old, skinless, fingers tapping rhythmically. He turned to run. The road behind him was gone. His car now stood inside the mirror. The whisper curled around his neck like a rope. "You've mapped the road too well, Aaron. Now it leads only here." Tess Morgan sat in the dark beneath her bed, flashlight flickering. She had duct taped a curtain over the mirror in her room, shoved a towel into the gap under her door. Everything felt thinner tonight, like reality had grown brittle. Pages in her notebook remained blank, no matter how hard she wrote. Words faded as the ink dried, so she carved them instead into wood, into the floorboards, into her skin if she had to. Remember, that was the only word she knew for sure was hers. Then came the tap, not from the wall, not from the closet, from her window. 3 quick knocks. Tess held her breath, slid closer, peeked, and saw a face. Dirty, wild-eyed, familiar. It was Max, the boy who tripped at recess 2 weeks ago and vanished the next day. Everyone said he had never existed, but there he was, shivering, mouth moving. She cracked the window. He whispered, "You still remember?" Tess nodded. His face split into a relieved, trembling smile. "Then you have to come with me." We found a way to stay real. Max led her down side streets and forgotten alleys, places Tess didn't remember Darrington ever having. Behind a boarded-up laundromat, beneath a rusted manhole cover, they climbed into the guts of the town. The smell of rust and mold filled her nose. The tunnels were carved from brick and bone, fused together in unnatural ways. Every now and then, they passed a mirror, all shattered. Finally, they reached a chamber glowing with the light of dozens of candles in jars. And there, huddled together, were other kids. 6 in total. Each one looked pale and ragged, but their eyes burned with the same fierce clarity as Tess's. "We're the ones they couldn't wipe out," Max said. "We remember." A girl named Jo held up a cloth bundle. Inside it were scraps, photographs, torn homework pages, broken toys. "Anchors," she said, "pieces of who we were, before the wall started feeding." They shared their stories. Parents forgetting them, schools erasing attendance, mirrors whispering names they didn't choose. Each of them had fought it, resisted the forgetting. Tess told them about the wall on Blythe Street, how it moved, how it breathed. "Yonodid Grimlu." We think it's not just growing. We think it's nesting. Max added, and whatever it's protecting, it's waking up. Tess leaned forward. Then what do we do? Silence followed. Then Joe stood and unwrapped a second bundle, this one heavier. Metal glinted inside. We go into the wall. The entrance wasn't where Tess expected. It wasn't at Blythe Street. It wasn't behind a door or through some secret tunnel. It was in a school locker, number 41. At the far end of the disused hallway, where the ceiling tiles sagged and flickered and water stains grew in the shape of open mouths. Joe had found it first, after following a trail of crayon drawings no one remembered doing. She'd said, "It's not a real door. You have to believe you're not supposed to see it." So they all stood there, flashlights shaking, hearts pounding. 6 kids and a secret. Much grip deshant. She tried not to show her fear. Ready. Yo vi spit. No one was, but they nodded. Joe twisted the lock, not with a key, but with a word she had carved into her arm months ago. Remember, the metal groaned, and the locker opened into nothing. A black that shimmered, reflected, moved like oil on water. They stepped through. They landed in a corridor made of mirrors, but none showed their reflections. Instead, each mirror displayed different versions of them. Tess, 12 and crying. Tess, younger, with her mother's face missing. Max, teeth made of wires. Joe, split into 2, both halves still blinking. The hallway breathed, and the air whispered their names, not as comfort, but accusation. You left me in the wall. You forgot what you promised. You dreamed of being real, now wake up screaming. Tess shut her eyes, kept walking. Behind them, one of the younger boys, Carter, froze. He stared at a mirror where his parents were hugging him. They looked whole, happy, real. It's a lie, Joe said gently. Don't look too long. But I miss them, he whispered. The reflection smiled. His mother turned and held out her arms. Then her hands began to bleed, and her eyes emptied, and she whispered the rhyme backwards. The mirror shattered. Glass and shadow swallowed Carter's scream. He was gone, just gone. The others moved faster now. Joe wiped her eyes, face hard. It tests you before it takes you. We have to reach the heart before we all forget why we came. After a stretch of mirror silence, they came to a wooden door standing alone in the middle of the path. It bore no handle, but something knocked from the other side. 3 times. Then again. Faster. Knock. 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 Tess stepped forward. There, carved in the center of the door, was her name. Underneath it, "You were never born." Max held her back. "It wants you to open it." "Don't." She turned to Joe. "But if this leads to the heart, maybe I'm the one who has to." "Yo hesitate." "Maybe. But you go in, you tie yourself to the hollow man. Are you ready for that?" Tess didn't answer. She placed her hand on the door. It was warm and breathing. Then it opened. The door swung inward with a sigh, like an old man waking from a nightmare he never stopped dreaming. Tess stepped through, and the room around her changed. No more mirrors, no more corridor, just a bedroom. Small, cold, familiar. There were toys in the corner, one she remembered but had never owned. Books with blank pages, a closet that hummed softly like a sleeping animal. She turned. The door behind her was gone. There was no ceiling now, only a black sky that pressed down like wet cloth. The floor creaked under her step. She walked to the dresser and picked up a cracked photo frame. Inside, the image swam unfocused. Her mother? No, a mouth, stretched into a smile too wide. She dropped it. Crack. A voice spoke from beneath the floorboards. This was where I started, where the forgetting began. Tess backed away. The floor shivered. Then, a shape began rising from beneath the boards. Not breaking them, phasing through them like smoke. A man, tall, thin, face wrapped in linen, stitched with rusted pins. He had no eyes, only long, pale fingers like candle wax, dripping upward toward her face. "You're early," he said, "but brave." Tess swallowed, fists clenched. "You're the hollow man." The figure cocked its head. "That's what they call me. But I was never empty. They emptied me." The boards beneath her pulsed, red like blood in a vein. "I was a boy once. They tried to forget me. They tried to bury me in silence. So I built something to remember me. Tess shook her head. You built the wall. You stole people's memories. He stepped closer. Not stole. Stored. They didn't want them. They gave them up. She backed away, and her feet broke through the floor. She tumbled down, falling through empty sky, through rooms folded into themselves. Rooms filled with faces pressed into wallpaper. Children whispering nonsense lullabies into tin cans. A woman rocking an invisible baby, sobbing he never cried. Not once. At the bottom, Tess landed in a nest. It was made of toys. Shoes. Teeth. Not bones. Baby teeth. Hundreds. A heart beat beneath it all. Massive, slow, like a dying drum. She stepped forward and saw it. A mirror. Tall. Cracked. And in its center, a reflection of her, but with empty eyes. The hollow man's voice echoed around her. All you have to do is forget who you were. Let me rewrite you. Let me make you whole. Tess stepped to the mirror. The reflection moved on its own. Reached forward. Its fingers passed through the glass. They were her fingers, but wrong. Too long. Too soft. Waiting. She took a deep breath, then turned and ran. Behind her, the mirror screamed. The heart shuddered, and the wall began to crack. The tunnel groaned. Not like shifting stone, but like something alive and in pain. Joe spun around, eyes wide. Behind them, the mirrored hallway cracked, fragments floating like ash. She found the heart, she whispered. Max stared into the crumbling dark. Tess. Joe nodded once. She touched something she wasn't supposed to. Then the floor lurched beneath their feet. The path they had followed began to twist, reforming into a spiral that pulled inward. Moo! Yo solted. They ran, ducking falling pieces of wall, sidestepping the black ooze that dripped from the ceiling like remembered grief. Somewhere behind them, a door slammed. Then another. And then, screaming. Not human. Like a memory that didn't want to be remembered. Like a name being pulled apart syllable by syllable. Carter's voice, warped, echoing through the stone. It's safe here. Just forget. Just forget. Max looked back. One of the mirrors was still intact. Inside it, himself grinning. His own voice whispered from inside the glass. She left you. She always leaves you. You don't have to hurt anymore. His hand reached out. Joe grabbed Max's collar and yanked him away. That's not you, she hissed. He stumbled, shook his head. Yeah, I know. He used. Behind the mirror, his doppelganger pressed a finger to its lips and vanished. They kept moving. Soon, the tunnel opened into a great circular chamber, dimly lit by jars of flickering light. There, 6 stone altars stood in a ring, each covered in names carved in shaking hands. Joe approached the nearest one. It read, Eli Samson, Jade West, Thomas Allen. Crossed out, rewritten, cross again. What is this? Mux whispered. Joe touched the stone, felt a pulse. These are the ones who lost, the ones who gave in. The hollow man kept them here, bound to the wall. Then a voice rose from the altar. Not speech, a plea. A whisper scratched in a thought. We remember too much. We remember the pain. Help us forget. Max backed away. Nope, nope, I'm not hearing that. But Joe didn't move. She was staring at the altar in the center of the chamber. It had no names, just a mirror, and in the glass, Tess running through rooms that weren't hers, running toward something or away. Joe stepped forward, pressed her palm to the glass. Tess turned toward her. Their eyes met, and the mirror shattered. The chamber screamed, and from above, the ceiling began to split, revealing a sky full of holes. We need to find her, Joe said, before the wall collapses with us inside. Mux nodded, then paused. Joe, what if we're not real either? She didn't answer. She just turned and walked toward the break in the ceiling, where stairs began to twist upward. Into the open, into the place where the wall first entered the world. Tess ran through a corridor of rooms that never belonged to her. Each time she passed through a door, she entered a new version of her life. In one, her house burned while her mother sang lullabies from the flames. In another, she stood in her school gym while students pointed and laughed, mouths sewn shut. In the third, she was alone, completely. No people, no sounds, no time, Just a pale, gray sky overhead and a wall on all four sides, watching her. She stopped running. It had taken her in a circle. The heart, the hallway, the bedroom, all led back here, to the room that whispered. There was no Tess. There was only the remembering. The voice was behind her now, not the hollow man's. Hers. Her reflection stepped from the shadows. No linen, no stitches. It looked exactly like her, down to the chipped nail polish and the scraped knee from climbing out Max's window. But its eyes, they were wrong. Flat. Forged. I'm what he made you into, it said. A survivor. But to survive, you had to forget. Tess raised her hand, trembling. You're a lie. The double smiled. So are memories. They change every time you look at them. She backed toward the far wall. I remember my mother's voice. My real one. I remember what she said to me after my dad left. The double tilted its head. Do you remember what the wall wanted you to hold on to? Tess shook her head. No, I remember because it hurt. Because it didn't make me feel better. She said, you'll always be my little girl, even if you disappear. Silence. Then something cracked behind the double. The wall, the true wall, began to peel away. Beneath it, a body hunched dry and broken. The original Hollow Man. Not a monster, not a spirit, just a boy who had been forgotten too many times. He sat cross-legged, eyes hollow, skin paper thin, and he whispered to no one. They never came back for me. Tess stepped forward slowly. Kneeling, she whispered, I'm here now. She reached for his hand. But as her fingers touched his, the world began to split. The floor shattered. The false version of her screamed and collapsed into smoke. The mirrors overhead burst like lightning. And all around her, the wall collapsed, not crumbling, screaming. Back in the waking world, Joe and Max reached the schoolyard, only to see the far wing of the building fold inward like paper. A great wind blew through the town. Children screamed, and from the center of Blythe Street, a tree of mirrors erupted from the ground, twisting upward into the sky. Tess's voice echoed from the branches. You can't forget what was real. Not forever. The sky had turned to deep, unnatural dusk, though the sun had not yet set. Clouds spun in place overhead, as if time had started to loop. And from the center of Darrington, right where Tess had disappeared weeks ago, a tree had burst through the earth, its trunk made of splintered wood, its branches made of mirrors. Each pane shivered with memory. Some showed familiar faces. Some showed twisted ones. Some showed nothing at all. Max fell to his knees as they reached the edge of the crater it had carved through the school. I could see my dad, he whispered. Joe didn't answer. She stared up at the tree, jaw clenched. She could see her brother, not as he was, but as he would have been if the accident hadn't taken him. We can't look, Joe said. That's how it pulls you in. From within the tree, the wind began to speak. It wasn't wind. It was Tess's voice. I'm here. I'm almost out. But I need you to remember something for me. They exchange a look. Yo swallow it. How do we help? A staircase began to unfurl from the roots of the tree. Made of broken glass and wire, it wound upward, vanishing into a whirl of spinning panels, each reflecting a different version of the town. Max stepped forward. One of the mirrors flashed. Him at age 6, smiling with 2 front teeth missing. Then another, him at 16, vanishing mid-step into a crowd that didn't turn to look. Don't lose yourself, Joe said quietly. It wants to offer you a better version of your past. They climbed, step by cautious step. Each mirror they passed whispered. Max flinched as one showed his mother leaving the house. Over and over. Every time, she turned back and waved, which never actually happened. Joe touched a mirror briefly and saw herself never leaving Darrington. The image smiled sadly. She let go. Tess. Max called. Where are you? Here, came her voice again. But not for long. The air shimmered. From high above, they saw something descend through the sky. A figure made of threadbare shadow. The Hollow Man. But not quite. This one had too many faces flickering in and out like channel static. Dozens of eyes. Dozens of mouths. All whispering in different tones. You broke the wall, it said. But the forgetting still has roots. Kill the memory, and you kill the pain. Joe raised her flashlight, the beam flickering wildly. "We're not killing anything," she growled. "We're waking up." The sky shuddered. From within the mirror tree, Tess screamed, and every mirror on every branch cracked at once. Joe and Max climbed into the high branches of the mirror tree, each step warping the world around them. Beneath their feet, the sky shifted, blue, black, red, familiar. The mirrors beside them shimmered like skins stretched too thin over bone. Some were cloudy. Some showed other people's memories, flickers of lives not their own. One displayed a hospital room. Another, a rope swaying from a rafter. Max stopped at one mirror, breath caught. It showed him and Tess, age 12, sitting beneath a picnic table during a storm. She was crying. He was handing her a peanut butter sandwich, grinning. "She doesn't even remember that day," he whispered. Joe didn't speak. She couldn't, because in the next mirror, she saw her father face down in the river. But in this version, someone pulled him out. He lived. He smiled at her. "Come home," the image whispered. "It doesn't have to hurt." She stared at the reflection for one long second, then shattered it with the flashlight. Crash! The shards rained down into nothing. "Tess needs us," she said. At the top of the tree, the mirrors thinned and the branches curved inward, forming a throne. There, surrounded by reflections of 100 different Tessies, sat the girl herself, eyes closed, hair floating in unseen wind. Tess didn't look up as they approached. "He's inside me," she whispered. "The first boy, the one they forgot. He doesn't want to hurt anyone." But the wall, it made him something else. Max stepped forward, voice cracking. "We're here. You're not alone." Joe knelt in front of her. "You have to let go of him. He's not you, and you're not his cage." Tess finally opened her eyes, and they were full of mirrors. Each iris was a spinning lens of memory, images flashing too fast to track. She whispered, "If I let go, I lose what's left of me. I don't know what's real anymore." Joe placed her hands on Tess's shoulders. "Then let's remember together, even the ugly parts, especially the ugly parts." The tree shook. The hollow man rose behind them, a towering, monstrous form now stitched from 1,000 forgotten faces. It screamed, not in anger, in fear. "If she remembers everything," it howled, "there will be no need for me. Yo stood." And for the first time, she didn't run. Exactly. She raised her flashlight, not to shine, but to smash it. She drove it into the trunk of the mirror tree, cracking it open with a blinding pulse of white. Tess screamed. Max grabbed her hand. The hollow man burst into threads of smoke and splintered memory, scattering into the wind like dandelion seeds. And from the center of the tree, light, pure, unbroken, they awoke in the middle of Blythe Street. The tree was gone. The wall gone. Tess sat up slowly. Joe wiped blood from her temple and smiled. Max, wide-eyed, laughed once, just once, and then sobbed. Around them, the townspeople emerged from their homes, older, wiser, and wide awake. The sky over Darrington was pale, like something that had been washed too many times. The grass on Blythe Street was flattened, scorched at its center. No more mirrors, no more roots, just silence, and then doors creaking open. A boy in pajamas stepped onto his porch, rubbing his eyes. "Mom," he called, "where's the school?" A man followed, eyes red, shoulders hunched. He turned slowly, taking in the empty crater where the west wing of Darrington Middle once stood. I remember this place being bigger. Down the block, a woman clutched a photograph of someone who didn't exist anymore, or maybe had never existed at all. The photo flickered in her hands, stabilizing pixel by pixel, until a name she had long buried returned to her tongue. Evan. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Max watched it all unfold from the curb, hands shaking. Tess sat beside him, legs stretched out. Neither spoke for a long while. Then, finally, how much did they forget? Max asked. Tess didn't look at him. A lot, but not everything. Joe stood at the center of the street, hands in her jacket pockets, staring at the place where the mirror tree had grown. The earth was black there, scorched in a perfect spiral. She turned as an older man approached, hunched, with watery blue eyes and shaking fingers. "You were the girl who used to ride past my house on your bike," he said softly. Jag tänker. You remembered? The man gave a slow, trembling nod. I forgot my son for years. Forgot why I grieved. Just told people I felt cold all the time. He swallowed. I saw him in a mirror last night. Told me he forgave me. Don't know if it was real. Don't care. Joe reached for his hand. Held it. It's real enough. The town's church bell rang for the first time in decades. Not to call for worship. To call for remembrance. From houses, apartments, classrooms, basements, people stepped out. Some with journals. Some with photo albums. Some with nothing but stories they could now finally tell. As the sun began to set, a warm wind blew through the streets of Darrington. Not heavy, not haunted, just soft and real. Joe, Max, and Tess sat on the hood of Max's rusted Corolla. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to, because sometimes silence isn't forgetting. Sometimes silence is healing. The gate to her front yard hung half off its hinge, squealing when she pushed it open. The lawn was overgrown, brittle weeds tall enough to brush her knees. The air had that heavy, earthy smell, like the house had been holding its breath for too long. Joe stood by the sidewalk, watching. Max lingered in the driveway, gripping the rusted mailbox post. But Tess went in alone. The door gave way with a whisper of dust. She stepped over old mail, curled and yellow at the corners, and into a foyer that looked untouched. Same cracked tile, same crooked painting of a lake that had never existed. Same silence. But now, the silence wasn't empty. It was honest. She made her way past the living room, where the wall had once breathed behind the wallpaper. Past the kitchen, where the phone used to ring without a cord. Past the hallway lined with photos of smiling people she never really knew. Down, into the basement. The stairs creaked. The light switch sparked and died. But Tess had brought a flashlight this time. No flickering, just a steady, pale beam that landed on the concrete floor and the faint outline of a square seam near the water heater. She knelt, ran her fingers across the edge, pulled. A panel lifted, revealing the small hollow she had carved at age 12. Wrapped in plastic, nestled in dust. A shoebox. She sat with it in her lap, paused, then opened it. Inside, a toy keychain flashlight, long dead. A single pink cassette tape with the words, "Don't listen alone," scribbled in marker. A photo of her mother, and someone else. Someone with no face. Just blank, like the photo had glitched. Tess held the tape in her hands and remembered. She had recorded it on the night the whispers first came. A message to herself. She popped the tape into the old player she'd brought. Click. Tess, it's you, or me. From now, I don't know if you'll ever hear this, but you need to remember what Mom said before she left. A rustling, breathing, then a voice. She said, the house was never haunted. We were. The recording went silent. Tess sat there a long time, the tape hissing softly in the player. Then she spoke, barely audible. I remember now. She took the photo, the flashlight, and the tape. Walked up the stairs, out the door, into the fading light. Joe and Max waited by the sidewalk. Tess walked straight to them. It's done, she said. But I'm not. The journal wasn't new. It had lived under her bed for years, untouched. A gift from her uncle before he disappeared. Leather-bound, its cover cracked like old skin. Joe ran her fingers over the first page, then uncapped her pen. The tip hovered. Not fear, not hesitation. Just wait. Then she began. This is what happened in Darrington. No one's going to forget again. She wrote until her fingers cramped. The first entry, a map of Blythe Street, before and after the tree. The second, a list of names. Kids who vanished. Adults who forgot. She drew the hollow man in detail from memory. Tall, stitched together, face like loose skin barely holding form. Then she wrote the sentence that made her hand shake. The wall was not built to keep us safe. It was built to hide the cost. She paused a stretch, glancing at the mirror on her closet door. For a moment, it didn't show her. It showed her mother, younger, in a hospital gown. Joe blinked, and it was gone. She stared at the glass, heart pounding. Not now, she muttered. Not tonight. She turned the mirror around. Her phone buzzed. A text from Max. You up? She smiled. Yeah, writing it all down. A pause. Then, Don't leave anything out. She didn't plan to. She turned to a fresh page. Title: The Whispering Room. She described the way the whispers began, faint, just behind the ear, how they mimicked loved ones, how they offered what you most wanted. They got louder when you were about to remember, because remembering was the only thing they feared. She added sketches: the cracked classroom floor, the basement beneath Tessa's house, the mirror tree's spiral trunk. She even wrote about the boy no one remembered, the one who died alone in the cold before the wall went up. She didn't know his name, but she gave him one anyway: Eli. She paused again, listening. The wind had picked up outside, but it wasn't whispering anymore. It was just wind. Joe returned to the journal, and as she wrote the final sentence for the night: "We are not what we forget. We are what we survive." The town clock tower struck midnight, and no one turned away. The screen door hung crooked, one corner of it scratched down to mesh the way it had always been. The porch light still flickered, though no one had changed the bulb in years. Max stood on the front step for a long while, fists clenched in his jacket pockets. Across the street, Joe's journal entry was still in his mind. "We are not what we forget. We are what we survive." He turned the knob. The door opened without a sound. The air inside was dry and stale, like a room sealed for decades. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. Photos lined the walls, but all the faces were blurred, smeared like someone had tried to wipe them out mid-memory. He passed the kitchen where his dad used to make midnight pancakes after long shifts. He passed the narrow staircase where he used to sit, counting each creak while waiting for a voice that never came. Then he reached the study, where the mirror still hung. It wasn't large, oval-shaped, with a bronze frame and spider cracks in the corner. Max had covered it with a bedsheet once, but the sheet was gone now. The mirror faced the center of the room, and it was cold. Not the air, the mirror itself. Even from across the room, Max could feel the temperature drop. He stepped closer. The reflection showed only him. No sados, no tricks. Then the surface began to ripple, and his father appeared. Not ghostly, not transparent, just sitting at the old desk in his favorite flannel. Writing. Max didn't speak. He just watched. Then, without looking up, the reflection spoke. "I didn't mean to leave." Max's breath caught. "You didn't leave?" he whispered. "You were taken." The reflection nodded, slow and heavy. "By the wall. By what it made of me. I let it feed off what I wanted to forget." He turned, finally facing Max. The eyes weren't quite right, too glossy, too wide, but the rest was him. Shorty, Mux. You deserved more than silence." Mux throat tightened. "I wanted to hate you," he said, "but I couldn't. Not even when you didn't come back." His father's image flickered just once. "I don't know if I'm real," it said, "but what I remember is yours now. Take it." The mirror glowed for a split second, then cracked. Max stumbled back, heart hammering. But instead of glass, a letter fell from the mirror's base. Old, yellowed, his name written in his father's hand. He picked it up, opened it. Inside, a single page. "You're not broken, Max. You are the piece that was never lost. I see you. I always did." He sat down on the floor and cried for the first time in years. Not because it hurt, but because for once, it didn't. Joe didn't notice it at first. She was too deep into writing. The pages of her journal were nearly filled now, lined with careful sketches of the mirror tree, fragments of overheard whispers, and lists of names recovered from the fog of forgetting. But somewhere between describing the hollow man's stitched grin and the basement under Tessa's house, the pen moved on its own. Just a little. Just enough. She blinked, stared at the line that had just appeared beneath her last sentence. "He still listens from the corner. Yom Rotse." She hadn't written that. She flipped back through earlier pages. More ink had appeared, faint, like it had bled up from underneath the paper. "Don't draw the door. Mirrors lie unless broken." Eli was the first, but not the only. Her hands trembled. The lights in her room dimmed, just slightly. The sound of the wind outside faded to nothing. Heat shit. She turned the page slowly. A new drawing was taking shape on its own. Graphite, rising like frost through paper fibers. It was her bedroom. Detailed, accurate, but in the sketch, someone was standing just behind her, a tall, thin figure whose head brushed the ceiling. No face, just stitches. Joe spun around, heart hammering. Nothing. Empty room. Open closet. Mirrors still turned to the wall. She looked back at the journal. A new line was forming below the sketch. He comes when the story's nearly finished. Joe slammed the book shut. The thud echoed too loud in the quiet. Then, a whisper, behind her ear, not like the others. This one was soft, familiar. Keep writing. Yo estuve. Back toward the door. Then the journal flipped itself open again, pages fluttering to one in the middle. Another line appeared. Not everything wants to be forgotten. She picked it up carefully. The page where the mirror tree was drawn had changed, roots stretching longer, branching across the margins. They formed words in twisting bark script. The boy at the center remembers you. Joe's voice was a rasp. Ellie. The pages pulsed faintly. Then the journal went still. Joe sat down slowly on her bed, clutching the book to her chest. Outside, the wind picked up again. But this time, it sounded less like a whisper and more like a warning. The library loomed like a mausoleum, its windows blacked by years of dust and silence. Tess pushed the heavy door open. It groaned like a thing waking from a long sleep. The air inside was cool, dry, thick with forgotten paper and moths too stubborn to leave. Max held a flashlight, its narrow beam slicing through the dark. I haven't been here since third grade, he muttered. It always felt heavier than the rest of town. Tess said nothing. Her eyes scanned the shelves. She wasn't looking for books. She was looking for the archives. They found them in the back, behind a sagging shelf marked Town Records, 1910, present. There was a filing cabinet covered in rust, its bottom drawer wedged open just enough to see yellowing manila folders stuffed inside. Max tugged it. It screeched. Inside, hundreds of photos. Old class pictures, town event snapshots, holiday pageants, all neatly labeled in ink that had begun to fade. They spread them across a dusty reading table under a flickering fluorescent bulb, one after another, and another, until Tess froze. Here, Much leaned in. It was a black and white class photo, Darrington Elementary, Grade 2, 1984. A line of smiling children in front of the school steps. The name list below was typed, except for one name, scratched in by hand. Eli Granger absent. But Eli wasn't absent. He was in the picture, far left, standing apart from the others, not smiling. And his eyes had been burned out, literally burned, the photo scorched through where they had been. Max touched the edge of the burn. It flaked slightly. Tess turned the photo over. Something was written on the back in a child's handwriting. He told me the wall would make them forget, but I promised I wouldn't. If you remember his face, he can come back. Muck Schwalodhart. Joe needs to see this. Tess nodded, but didn't look away from the photo. He's been waiting all this time. Watching from the other side, a whisper curled through the quiet of the library. Not from the wind, from the filing cabinet. It whispered one word. Almost. Max and Tess didn't speak as they left. The picture trembled slightly in Tess's hands, like it was reacting to the air. Outside, the sun was starting to rise, and the shadows were starting to move. Joe's eyes narrowed as she leaned closer. There, on the very first page, the page where she had begun the whole story, was a tiny, almost imperceptible note, written in a shaky hand she did not recognize. Mara. She traced the letters with a fingertip, feeling a chill creep up her spine. The name was familiar. Not from any memory, from her dreams. Her breath quickened. She flipped through the journal slowly, scanning the margins. More notes appeared, scattered and faded. She waits beneath the tree. The lost sister calls. Remember Mara, or all will be lost. Joe's heart hammered. Who was Mara? The wind whispered softly outside. Joe closed the journal and grabbed her coat. She had to find out. Down the street, near the ruins of the mirror tree. Joe's footsteps echoed on cracked pavement. The twisted bark stood silhouetted against the pale sky. There, nestled in the roots, a small weathered box. Inside, an old photograph of a girl, dark-haired and smiling faintly. Underneath, a faded note. Mara, the first forgotten. Joe's voice was barely a whisper. Who were you? The wind picked up again, and the shadows around the tree seemed to stretch, reaching toward her. The past was waking, and Mara's story was just beginning. The roots beneath the mirror tree seemed to pulse as Joe gently brushed away years of dirt and dead leaves. Her fingers trembled when she unearthed a small wooden box, the edges cracked and worn but still intact. Inside lay a brittle bundle of letters, tied with a faded ribbon, and a faded photograph of a girl with dark eyes and a quiet, knowing smile. Joe's voice was barely a whisper as she read the earliest letter, dated nearly 70 years ago. I am Mara. They say I was the first to be forgotten, taken by the wall because I saw too much, because I asked too many questions. Her fingers shook. The letters told the story of a girl who had lived in Darrington decades before Max or Tess were born. A girl who had vanished without a trace, erased not just from memory, but from time itself. Mara had witnessed the wall's power before anyone else. She had tried to warn others, but her words faded like mist. Her last letter ended with a plea. If you find this, remember me. Remember that the wall is not just a thing. It is a hunger, a darkness that feeds on forgetting. Joe folded the letter carefully. Somewhere deep in the roots, she felt a presence, a soft, sorrowful heartbeat, as if Mara herself was still waiting, still watching. Outside, the wind whispered her name. The ruins of Darrington Elementary lay silent beneath a gray sky, broken bricks and twisted metal strewn across overgrown grounds. Tess and Max moved carefully among the rubble, the photo of Eli clutched in Tess's hand. He stood here, Tess whispered, pointing to a patch of cracked concrete near what used to be the playground. Max knelt down, brushing away dirt. There, faint markings, scratches, almost like tally marks, etched into the concrete. Someone was counting time. Max said softly. They noticed a narrow opening beneath a collapsed wall, just big enough to crawl through. This wasn't on any map, Tess said, her voice low. With flashlights piercing the gloom, they slipped inside. The tunnel was narrow and damp, walls slick with moss and shadow. As they moved deeper, the air grew colder, heavier, like the house where Max's father disappeared. At the end, they found a small chamber. On the wall hung a faded, cracked mirror, its surface cloudy but reflecting the two of them clearly. Much swallowed heart. The mirror from the house, he whispered. But this mirror was different. Along its edge, written in a script that twisted and crawled like roots, were words. Here lies the forgotten, waiting to be remembered. Suddenly, the mirror rippled, and a figure appeared. Eli. His eyes were hollow, yet pleading. Help me, he said. Tess reached out, and as her hand touched the mirror's surface, it rippled again, thick darkness spilling forth. The tunnel trembled. We have to break it, Max said urgently. Together, they grabbed a fallen piece of rubble and smashed the mirror. Glass exploded in shards, and a cold wind howled through the chamber. When the dust settled, Eli was gone, but so was the oppressive darkness. The air lightened. Outside, the sky brightened for the first time in days. J.O. sat alone in her room, the journal open on her lap, Mara's letters resting beside it. The wind outside rattled the window panes, carrying the low, persistent whisper she had come to know so well. The wall was not just a thing, it was a presence. It was hunger. The air seemed to thicken around her as the journal's pages fluttered, revealing one last message, glowing faintly on the paper. Remember us, or let us fade forever. Her hand shook. This was the moment. To remember, or to forget. Joe closed her eyes, summoning all the faces she had learned to recall. Eli, with his burned-out eyes and silent plea. Mara, the forgotten sister whose sorrow had seeped into the roots of the mirror tree. Tess and Max, brave enough to confront the shadows beneath the school. The whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a storm. Choose, they said. With a deep breath, Joe opened her eyes and began to write. Not just words, but names, stories, memories, all pouring out onto the pages like a flood. The journal pulsed in her hands, glowing brighter. Outside, the wind screamed and the wall trembled. Then, slowly, the shadows began to recede. Light filled the room. The wall cracked, splintering like old ice. Jo felt a warmth growing in her chest. Hope. When she opened the journal one last time, the pages were blank. But Jo knew the stories lived on, not in forgotten shadows, but in the memories she and the town now carried. The hunger was sated. For now, outside, the mirror tree stood tall in the dawn light, its roots strong and steady. And somewhere, far beneath the earth, a soft voice whispered one final word. Thank you. The end.